You spook easily, Starling?
Not yet, sir.
He's past the others. The last cell. I'll be watching. You'll do fine.
A killer is on the loose.
Keeps them alive for 3 days. Then he shoots them, skins them, and dumps them.
A rookie FBI agent is on his trail.
He's got real physical strength, cautious, precise, and he's never impulsive. He'll never stop.
But in order to track him down, she'll have to match wits.
I'll help you catch him, Clary.
Believe me, you don't want Hannibal Lecter inside your head.
With the darkest of all minds.
Just do your job, but never forget what he is.
But he's a monster. Pure psychopath. So rare to capture one alive.
So close to the way you're going to catch him. Do you realize that? Oh, Clarice, your problem is you need to get more fun out of life.
You told me you don't spook easily.
You call this easy, sir?
Lecter's missing hand arm.
Man's a raving maniac. Who knows what he'll do?
Thank you, Clarice.
That's a rather slippery one of you, Agent Starling. We're covering Silence of the Lambs. This is Let's Watch It Again. Koo's here. Rob's here. Hi, Koo.
Hello.
I was talking about the poetry, not you. No.
Haiku. Okay. Yeah, I should have gotten that. I missed it.
Big Daddy Pun here. So, yeah, thanks for joining me on this again. These are always the better ones.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I don't want to insult your other podcast guests, but...
They're dog shit.
Oh, wow. I didn't say that. That wasn't me.
Hey, D. Hey, Torn. Hey, Rudy. Greg.
They're going to be like, what?
I don't know if you should listen to this one. So let's see. So we're doing Silence of the Lambs. The movie came out in 1991. This was a Valentine's Day movie, to be exact.
How sweet. Romantic.
And it came out around the time as Sleeping with the Enemy.
Another very sweet and romantic story.
This is directed by Johnathan Demme. And I'm going to give you the quick synopsis. And this is like basically me taking from like I think Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb.com, and you tell me if this properly covers it.
Those are both reputable sources, kind of, sometimes.
A young FBI agent cadet must receive help from an incarcerated and manipulative cannibal killer to catch another serial killer, a madman who skins his victims. Silence of the Lambs.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. There's a lot of other things that goes on, not to mention the manipulation of a lot of other men in the movie.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So the film stars Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, Ted Levine, who we'll talk about him a little bit, and Scott Glenn.
Yes.
And a big shout out to Frankie Vincent as well.
Who is he again?
He was Barney. He was the orderly that was in.
Oh, I love Barney.
He's outside of Anthony Hopkins. He was the only person in multiple movies.
He also is one of the few decent other characters besides Clarice in the movie.
Yeah. Everyone else is dog shit.
Everyone else is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, also, we'll talk about it. I don't want to lead with it. So Silence of the Lambs was released in 1991, February 14th, 1991. It grossed almost $14 million with a budget of, it opened to 14, with a budget of $19 million. How much do you think it made in its run? Because this was a big movie.
You know, I'm terrible at this. I never know this.
Was it below or above $300 million?
I'm going to say above.
It was it was 272.
That was a trick question.
Now, this is what it would be in today's numbers.
I'm ready.
2021, that would be $520 million.
It was a huge movie, and I saw it in the theater twice.
See? So $14 million in its opening weekend, and it opened on President's Day weekend, so it was a 4-day weekend. It was #1 in the box office for 5 weeks. Silence of the Lambs was a sleeper hit and gradually gained widespread success and critical acclaim. Foster, Hopkins, and Levine garnered much attention for their careers. Review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reports a 96 rating out of 101 film critics given it a positive review.
Very high.
in an average of 8.87 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, director Johnathan Demme's smart, taut thriller teeters on the edge between psychological study and all-out horror and benefits greatly from the stellar performances of Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster.
So I hope that at some point we're going to talk about Johnathan Demme a little bit.
We can.
Okay.
And, you know, we'll probably talk about that when we get into the actors and basically the players here. The acclaim on the film, because, again, it's not only a big money-making movie. This was a huge hit. Like, when I took a film class in, like, high school, and this was one of the movies that we watched. It was, like, pretty much this, and I think, like, Red Dragon and some stuff from like the 80s. It was just showing the difference between how this movie was and then how Red Dragon didn't really work as well.
True.
From an auteur standpoint.
I wish I would have been watching this in a high school film class.
It was wild. I was like, a lot of face biting here. The film won 5 Academy Awards.
Which is very rare.
Can you name the Academy Awards that it won? This is your wheelhouse, by the way.
Best Picture.
Ding, 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 ding.
Best Director.
Ding, 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 ding.
Best Actor.
Ding, 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 ding.
Best Actress.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's 4, right?
Yeah, you got one more.
Original Screenplay?
Adapted Screenplay.
Adapted, right, because the book, right. Yeah.
Making it only the third film in history to accomplish that feat.
That is, I mean, that's incredible because it's also a horror movie, and I know that you and I, the horror heads, are going to talk about that.
Yes. The film and its characters have appeared in the following AFI Top 100 lists. Again, this is more work for you. This is more stuff for you right here.
This is great. You've done all the work for me. I just get to sit back and go, like church.
So I'll ask you this. Where does the movie rank in the top 100 of AFI's 100 years, 100 movies? Where does it rank at within the top 100?
So you're talking about the master list, not those sub lists they do?
The master list. They have sub-lists listed as well.
They do, because they have like thriller and horror and this and that.
Oh, okay. That's the next one.
Where is it on the main list?
Is it in the top 50?
I was going to ask you that. Is it in the top 50?
It is not.
It's not. Okay. So I'm going to say on a list of 100 that it's 72.
65.
All right. Not too far.
Yeah. Where is it ranked in the top 100 thrills? And this is like thrillers.
Okay. Ooh. I think it's in the top 20.
It's 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heroes and villains. This is an interesting one. So they have Clarice, Hannibal Lecter, and Buffalo Bill. Obviously, 2 of them are ranked. 1 is not.
Right.
I'll give you the numbers. Clarice Starling is ranked 6th in terms of heroes. Buffalo Bill is nominated, so he's honorable mention. And Hannibal Lecter, fellow January 20th, by the way. Where is he ranked at in this villains list?
List of villains?
Yeah.
Man, who is the number 1 villain?
You're talking about him. He's number 1.
He's number 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was really like, who is more evil? And I mean, well, I don't know. Hannibal Lecter's not a villain, but that's my hot take.
Oh, my gosh. So they also made the list for movie quotes. This quote is number 1, and it's a wine reference in it. Give it to us.
Okay, wait. Where does it rank on the quotes list?
21 out of the top 100.
And it's a wine quote?
Uh-huh. Probably the most famous quote from the movie. He mispronounced the name of the wine, though.
Oh, when he said, a census taker, I ate his liver with fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Yeah.
But he makes it sound like he's saying tea.
Like Chianti.
Yeah.
It's
and it's like, have you
Boston?
ever had this? Yeah, like Anthony Hopkins, I thought you had a bit more culture than that.
But you're more refined with your slick back hair.
Pronounce wine correctly.
And lastly, this is the top 100 movies 10th anniversary. So this is like the one I said earlier was where it was originally ranked. And this is where it's like ranked most recently after about 10 years. So, you know, things get moved around.
Right.
Now, this goes to where you said it. This makes the movies turn into 74. It's at 74 right now.
It's at 74 now. Okay. Wow. I was really, okay. But you gave me a hint, so.
All right. So let's get into some trivia about the movie.
I'm ready.
I mean, I just want to get to my Migs part.
He's already laughing, folks. He's already laughing. He's already laughing.
So the FBI used this movie as a training and recruitment tool for female agents.
I can imagine they did because they go strong. The FBI hat is like one of the first things you see in the movie.
The inspiration for Silence of the Lambs was inspired by a real life relationship between University of Washington criminology professor Robert and profiler Robert Keppel and serial killer Ted Bundy. Bundy and Keppel investigated the Green River serial killings in Washington. Bundy was executed January 24th, 1989. The Red River killings were finally solved in 2001 when Gary Ridgway was arrested. So this is what the basis of it is.
Is Keppel the author of Mindhunter?
I believe so.
Okay, I felt like these threads were all coming together.
Anthony Hopkins said he saw Lecter as similar to HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey from 1968.
You can hear it in the voice. Yeah.
Highly complex, highly intelligent, highly logical killing machine who seems to know everything going on around him.
In an almost supernatural fashion, but I accept it.
Originally, Sir Anthony Hopkins thought this movie was a children's film because of the title.
Oh, God. Then he shows up and they're like, so here's your prison uniform. Say these words.
Now, this happens in the movie.
Okay.
And they take advantage of it. How many scenes does Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster have together?
I'm counting them in my head, so be patient with me, listeners.
You're good.
1.
Oh, my God.
2. 3. Okay, I think it's 3. I'm not going to count when he calls her.
I think it's 4.
Are they counting when he calls her?
I think they are.
Because she comes to see him the first time. She comes to see him the second time. She's got a little bit more confidence. They meet the third time in that insane makeshift jail that looks better than my living room. And then he calls her after he escapes.
And they're taking full advantage of just like the movie is broken down really interestingly, by the way.
Yeah, because the first, I wasn't using my counter, but the first, I want to say 6 minutes, and I'm not as good at this as you because you do editing and that sort of thing, is one shot.
Yeah.
She's running, she comes back. They have kind of that, they sneak in that like establishing shot, which looks like Consec, by the way, call back to our Scanners podcast.
Yeah.
But they do the establishing shot of the building, but from there on, it's all one shot of her coming in when he pulls her off the obstacle course.
Good observation. Thomas Harris, who is the author of the book, he sent all the Oscar recipients, not nominees, only recipients, a case of wine.
Was it a Chianti?
Probably. I hope not. So the inspiration for Sir Anthony Hopkins' voice were 2 people, Truman Capote and Katharine Hepburn.
Well, that makes sense because, I mean, Truman Capote has one of the most distinctive affects one could ever imagine.
Yes.
And then Katharine Hepburn, because there are these times where, and maybe that's what he's doing when he pronounces the wine.
Yeah.
When he's making fun of Jodie Foster, basically. And not Jodie Foster, but her character's West Virginia accent. And you're kind of like, why are you talking like that? And then you get it. You're like, oh, you're making fun of her. You're trolling her.
I mean, this is like, upon rewatching it and having that information that his biological is like January 12th, I was like, yeah, you're trolling the entire movie.
He trolls everyone. Pretty much everyone he comes in contact with.
Especially the senator. That shit was so fucking funny.
Oh, my God.
I was like, jeez.
Love your suit.
That's one of my scenes, by the way. Jane Gumm's dance was not included in the original draft of the screenplay.
I'm sure it was.
Although it appears in a novel, though.
Okay.
It was added by the insistence of Ted Levine, who thought the scene was essential in defining the character.
Now, people have talked a lot about this.
A lot of talking.
People have talked a lot about this scene, about his character, about its meaning to the LGBTQ community. And
a drama that happened when the movie came out, too.
What drama was that?
It was some, like, I think it was Village Voice or what have you. It's like, how dare Jodie Foster be in this movie? And she's a closeted lesbian.
Well, I don't remember that, which is surprising considering how much attention I used to give The Village Voice.
Or it was that or Out?
You know, and I've been grappling with this because, like, I don't know, maybe it's a blind spot, maybe it's my age. I just can't see it. I don't see how the movie did not get itself off the hook when, through conversation of profiling Buffalo Bill, they established that he is not a transsexual and he is not a transvestite. Because
he said he thinks he's one, and that's about it. He thinks this, and it's one of those things where now. In going through the profile initially, but you're right, to get themselves off the hook. Going through the profile initially, I think when Clarice is talking to Hannibal, it's like, well, they're usually effeminate and not, violent and blah, blah, blah for transsexuals or what have you. I think that was kind of the line there, and that was kind of stereotyping a little bit, but they got themselves like, no, he's not that. He thinks he's that, but he's not that, is what Lecter's saying.
And so I get the Hollywood tradition of playing into those tropes and stereotypes of cross-dressing, being a deviant, being violent, and kind of stitching together all these things, whether you're talking about Maniac or Dress to Kill, which
Stitching
I love that
things.
movie.
Cool. You're funny.
I love Dress to Kill. But so I do understand that in context. I just feel like it's a little bit misplaced in this movie. I don't think that it is. I don't think that it's fair to lump it in with some of those more overt, like Sleepaway Camp. You know what I mean? Which is just like, wow, I don't know how a movie is homoerotic and homophobic and transphobic at the same time.
I'm just going to play the lane that I like to live in. I believe the reason why it's kind of gotten that treatment, a lot, maybe some at the time, but much more retroactively, because there's articles now because of the 30-year anniversary of, hey, let's ask Jodie Foster this shit again. Because the movie has the acclaim that it has.
That's true.
That's a big piece
Sleepaway
of it.
Camp didn't win
anything. It won like...
It won our award for who made this movie.
It won the side-eye award.
Yeah.
The Roku side-eye award.
Exactly. So no, I think that you're perfectly right. It's because this movie was so successful and got Academy Awards and it stars Sir Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster that it's that thing. I don't like the word elevate when people use it that way, to be like, well, it elevated it, to make it seem like horror sucks and we need these actors to elevate it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that's why.
So Sir Anthony Hopkins viewed this film as his last ditch to break out in Hollywood. He had been acting in television since the 60s, but had not reached A-list status, and nor did he attain what he was hoping for in his screen acting career. So, once this happened, his first Academy nomination was from this movie, and then he won. Immediately, it launched him into A-list status in Hollywood, and as of 2020, he's received 4 more Academy Award nominations.
Don't ask me what they're for.
I don't know what they are either.
Because I was like, I don't
Jerkus
know.
Aurelius. I don't know.
Jerkus Aurelius. Wow, that sounds like a real movie.
Dino De Laurentiis, who produced Manhunter in 1986, 5 years prior to this, passed on the movie because Manhunter flopped. It flopped and then dribbled. And I like Manhunter.
Me too.
He gave the rights to Orion. Orion coming up again.
Yeah, right? From the 3.
He gave it to him for free, by the way.
Okay, so he really gave it to them.
And he went on to co-produce Hannibal and Red Dragon. He's trying to wet his beak later.
Well, he's like, I'm just, you know what? I like this property. I'm just going to go back to it.
Clarice was the biggest influence on creating the character of Dana Scully, obviously. And there is a tribute to this movie in the last episode of season 9 when Scully visits Mulder in jail and he tells her, I smelled you coming, Clarice.
Wow. I don't remember that happening at all.
Well, no one checks after like season 7.
Not a surprise.
Now, this is my Bill Simmonsing of it all.
Okay, I'm ready.
Gene Siskel. So it's the other side.
Oh boy.
He was the only main screen critic to give the best picture winner a negative review. Siskel disliked the elements of camp and gothic about the film and cited Henry, a Portrait of a Serial Killer, was a more honest depiction of a psychopath.
It is. I mean, I saw that movie. It's rough. It's rough, folks. Just to tell you. I mean, be careful with that film. So yes, it's. But I don't think that's what this movie is about. I don't think that's what it's. I don't think it's trying to be a realistic representation of anything. It's certainly not
because it's a movie about Clarice. It's not about.
It is about Clarice. Yeah. Yes.
And also, no, because of the scenes that they have together, I was like, they had 4 scenes together, Clarice and Lecter, but I was like, was that kind of one of those? You did a little bit of work to get that best picture. I mean, that best actor. Or
you're saying on Sir Anthony Hopkins' part?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know how everybody thinks that Gremlins is the first PG-13 movie?
Yeah.
And then whenever PG-13 comes up in its origin, Gremlins always comes up. So this part always comes up when people are like, how little work do you have to do? Or how infrequently do you have to appear on screen to be considered for an Oscar, to win an Oscar? So I think, did Dame Judi Dench break that record of she was in The Queen for like 10 seconds or something?
You know what? I think he's in the movie enough.
He is. Yeah, he's in the movie. And I mean, because there's that other more ethereal idea of that he is in every scene in the movie. He hangs over the entire movie, because I feel like Clarice is, not to put too fine a point on it, but I feel like Lecter is her first real intellectual equal that she's ever known. I mean, you see the doofuses that are at the FBI, and no shade to her black friend. And I want to make note that her only friend is black, which is interesting.
We're going to talk about
that. But
it's
like, you can imagine, and I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but that growing up, she probably didn't meet a lot of people who were as smart as she was. And, she found someone, not that this is an exercise to her, intellectual exercise. She obviously has a lot of emotion about this case, but he's always there because she's always thinking about the things that he's trying to tell her, the clues that he's leaving her.
Anagrams and all of that.
Yeah, and how she can be a step ahead of everyone else.
So now, here's people who were up for the role.
Oh boy, I'm scared.
Lecter is very crazy.
Okay.
So Pfeiffer, Laura Dern, Michelle Pfeiffer, Laura Dern.
Oh, you're saying Clarice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Meg Ryan were considered for Clarice. Foster did the movie as a deal to direct a picture called Little Man Tate, her directorial debut in that same year.
Yes. For some reason, I did know that.
Now here's the Lecter ones.
Okay.
Sean Connery was the first choice.
I can't even imagine.
Actors, he'd have to be clean shaved, the whole thing. They would have to the wig that Lecter was wearing at the end of the movie is what Sean Connery would be wearing the whole movie.
I can't even imagine that.
Here's another one, and you might have to tune up your Chris Ryan for this one. Actors considered for the role also include Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, Derek Jacobi, and Daniel Day-Lewis.
So this is one of those really hard things where their role is so iconic that it's very difficult to imagine another person. But none of those people, I can't.
The only person close.
I mean, at least Robert De Niro has played a serial killer in some ways, I guess.
I guess at that point, what's thing came out a year later, didn't it? Cape Fear.
I don't remember. Cape
Fear was either 90 or 92. I mean, 91 or 92.
Okay.
I mean, I think Daniel Day-Lewis could have done it.
Yes.
But Pacino is going to go over the top with it.
I can't even imagine Pacino. No, I could see Pacino in a different role in this movie.
He could have been fucking, what's the name?
Jack Crawford.
Yeah, because Dennis Farina played him. And, okay, so who's your definitive Jack Crawford real quick? So Dennis Farina played him in the second movie, I think. Scott Glenn was in the first one. I don't remember who played him in Mindhunter, and then you had Lawrence Fishburne on the TV show.
It's always Lawrence Fishburne for me.
Appreciate you.
There's just an energy that he brings to that role of someone who is, you want to believe that they care about you, and they probably do.
But also he's kind of a piece of shit.
But also, yes, and he's always going to take one too many risks.
Yeah, and Harvey Keitel also played him.
I like him.
Jack Crawford has been so many different people.
Yeah, it's like, who can be Jack Crawford?
And he's black, too, so we got to give that up.
Exactly. And I also think Daniel Day-Lewis and Jodie Foster would have had too much sexual energy. I'm not saying there's no sexual energy between her and Anthony Hopkins, but it's different.
Yeah. Again, we're going to talk about that. So, real quick on the mask. The mask that Hopkins wore in the Iconics is the iconic symbol for the film. It was created by Ed Clubberly of Frenchton, New Jersey, who makes NHL goalkeeper masks.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a look.
Yes. All right. So, I got questions, and I got some favorite scenes, and we could start talking about we could talk about Demme a little bit. We could talk about just certain characters in the movie, however you want to do it.
I want to talk about Demme a little bit.
Spin it.
And I hope that I'm saying his last name correctly. I don't know if it's Dem or Demme, so I'm not sure.
Big Daddy Demme.
I didn't do my Google pronunciation before this episode.
Well.
He has a couple of connections that are programmed for me. Like someone wrote them in the stars.
Okay.
The first is that he directed 2 episodes of Enlightened, a very, very underrated and wonderful and beautifully written HBO show.
Laura Dern?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
so
yeah.
Laura Dern comes up again. So one of the episodes that he directed is called Sandy, which stars Robin Wright. And it is one of the best 30 minutes of television ever. It's a great episode. He also directed an episode of Columbo. So he directed an episode of Columbo in 1978 called Murder Under Glass, which this is so perfect for this podcast with you because it stars the protagonist / antagonist is a murderous food critic.
Yo!
I was like, I can't believe that this is the episode that corresponds with me doing a podcast with Robert. This is perfect.
I'm going to watch that episode now.
Yes, it's called Murder Under Glass, and he directed that episode. And then, as you know, he also famously directed Stop Making Sense, which is one of the best rock documentaries, concert films that there's ever been about Talking Heads.
He's one of your guys.
Yes, he's one of my guys. So he's done other great stuff, Philadelphia, but yeah, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, this director, we vibe. We have a vibe.
He gets it.
Yeah, he gets it.
He's up there in his, he looks Jurassic, and he's a New Yorker, so.
He looks Jurassic,
I'm just,
he said.
it's.
You know what I did? I tempted fate on the way over here.
He did Beloved as well.
He did. I listened to American Girl in the car on the way over here. R.I.P. Tom Petty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's almost like a dare. I feel like that's almost like you want to get abducted, don't you? You know, if you're like a girl, a woman, alone in a car, singing something bad is going to happen after that.
He also directed Caged Heat.
What is it?
He also directed Caged Heat.
What is that?
One of the women in prison movies.
Listen.
In 1974. You got to do what you got to do.
Yes. And let's not forget, how could I almost forget this? He is the executive producer of Devil in a Blue Dress.
Yes, he gets it. That's a fire flick.
See? We're vibing.
I got questions now.
Okay. Do the questions involve plot holes? I feel like there are a few.
No.
Go ahead.
If you got plot holes, we can put them in there. But,
you go first.
So, question I have, I think it's further. It's not even in my questions. Let me go up and see what I had. So I had the question. It might be further down. I think it is. Because I don't want to forget her name. Was Clarice involved with Cordelia? You said they were friends, but it was a lot of. I felt Clarice was played really like a person that was just super unsure of themselves and more than just their work. And I felt like because that was our only friend, the only person that was kind of nice to her.
It's definitely a possibility, and it's something that it kind of pops in your head, for people who don't know that Robert and I are big fans of the series Mindhunter. It kind of pops up in your head when you think about the way that the character whose name is escaping me right now is also a lesbian, and you feel shades of Scully and Clarice in her, and so you're kind of like, is that what you're playing with? But there's definitely some I mean,
she was booking it.
A suggestion when it's they're just, I don't know what, they're sitting on the washing machine.
Yeah.
They're doing laundry together, in their
Changed.
socks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, and also, there's kind of no man in sight, which is fine.
She has almost as many scenes with her as Lecter.
Interesting. Yeah. I would be surprised if we were kind of supposed to think something.
Because when she was running, I think it was she was booking.
She was booking. She drops the phone.
Speed.
Yeah, she leaves the phone hanging Matrix style, and she's she's booking.
And she was Spellman. She had that aesthetic. It was like.
She what?
She had that Spellman aesthetic. It's like.
She definitely had a Spellman vibe. I'll give you that.
So let's see. So later in the film, when the Goodbye Horses sequence happens, the James Gumb dance. What the fuck was he doing? Who was this video for? Was he mailing this to someone?
So I have to say that, you know, when I sat down to watch this movie, I'm thinking, it's been a long time since I've watched it, but it's also a movie that I know pretty well.
Yeah.
So is there going to be anything that pops up that's new to me? And I never really noticed the tripod, the video camera.
Yeah.
It just didn't register for me. I was pretty much distracted by just the
His
horror of his den. So that is a good question. I because here's the other thing, and this could be way off base, but I mean, his presentation, and I'm not just talking about his tucking or whatever, but his whole thing suggested a love life of some sort.
Yeah.
And I'm like, with who? So, I mean, but, you know, and it's kind of like, there's already the Benjamin Rasbell thing came up, which that thing is a fucking albatross for me.
Yeah.
I get so confused by that character every time about like,
It's like,
wait,
why is it here?
He was the patient, but he was afraid, but then the other patient, but then they were referred and somebody murders somebody else. I always get lost at that part.
So let's see what else I have in here. So that I think we already touched on it, but I was like, is Crawford a heel?
Yes, he sucks.
All right. Chilton stinks. That's just a fucking expression of life.
Don't you love the tight shot of his head that makes him look like a vampire? His forehead looks enormous.
Yes.
And the way that his energy shifts after she declines his whack invitation to see a great town. Baltimore is a great town, by the way, but I don't want to see it with Dr. Chilton.
Well, you could have told me that when I was upstairs saving to travel.
So you just let me walk down here to this fucking dungeon of horrors by myself? Thanks a lot.
One more thing about James Gumb in that sequence, when Jodie Foster gets there, when Clarice gets there and realizes what's going on, it's like, yeah, I'll get you that business card. When he throws the card, he's like, ah!
It's really funny.
So funny.
It's really funny. I love when people do things like that because I doubt that anyone wrote that. And it's just weird and it makes you uncomfortable, but you're not sure why. And then, yeah, it's so weird.
I rewinded that shit 3 times. And I was just like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's extremely weird when he does that, but it works.
One thing that I hated about Chunky, the senator's daughter, or what have you, when she was like, you fucking bitch, get back here. Like,
actually, I love that. It's terrible, but I feel like that's what a real person would do. You'd be so scared that you're going to live in that hole or die in there that you're just like, no, what, the cavalry is here and you're fucking leaving?
Well, the only reason because even when I watched it as a younger person, I was just like, you didn't have all that spice for Bill.
People did react that way in the movie theater, by the way.
Right.
People in the theater were definitely just like, oh, really?
Well,
you got all that now just because you managed to capture his dog, which good for you, because I don't know that I would have thought of that.
I wouldn't have caught the dog. The dog just like, come here, little nigga.
Yeah, she fucked the dog up.
So let's see. I got what works. This is a segment I've been trying to work in. What works and what doesn't work.
Okay.
I think, and this is what I was suggesting. You tell me whether it works or whether it doesn't. Method acting.
Okay.
I think it works. He was just as far as how Sir Anthony Hopkins played it in this movie. I think him and Jodie Foster still have not hung out. She's like fucking terrified of him still.
Okay, well, maybe.
And it comes through on the screen, like how effective those scenes are for the lack. When you start thinking about it, it's like, you looked at 4 scenes, but what if it's like cumulatively, they had 20 minutes of screen time together in a 2-hour movie and probably less than 20. And that method acting got it across such in a pulpy way that it just worked.
It really does work. I mean, he hits the right notes of like, you're like attracted to him, and I don't necessarily mean sexually, although obviously they play on that in the TV series quite heavily, but it's like you just want to know more. Like, you know, the way that she is leered at a lot in this movie by other FBI agents.
Those dudes, they were running like,
yeah,
look at that.
You know, exactly.
Y'all suck.
By Chilton.
But not Barney, though.
Not Barney.
You'll do just fine.
And she she flirts with the entomologists, the bug guys, because
Weirdos.
I think she feels like they're kind of on her level in a way. So it's like she doesn't really mind that, but there's constantly people watching her and looking at her and like leering at her. And while Hannibal Lecter observes her, like he observes everyone, he doesn't make her feel the way that a lot of other people, especially men in the film, have made her feel. And I think that in some ways she can't really deny that. The fact that he's approached her after he kind of gets a load of when she got the drop on him, basically, and also figured out his little clues. He was like, this is someone that I actually find interesting. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because of some of the words you chose because of the next thing I have coming up.
Okay. What is it?
Mix.
Oh, God.
So around the 1830 mark, is again, I rewinded this. I was like, oh, God.
It's even grosser than I remembered.
I think it kind of works. It's gross. It's terrible. It's prison and all this. And even the other prisoners was like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it actually, Miggs is probably what had things which kind of helped the movie take off a little bit because, you know, and like you said, you know, loads and men and all of that. I was just like, holy shit.
I mean, it kind of gets the ball rolling because he calls her back and then he, you know, tells her, you know, all this stuff. And actually, one of my favorite things that happens in the movie is that she goes to the parking lot and cries.
Yes.
Because that's what a person would actually do if something terrible like that happened. And if you didn't have any experience with visiting this very frightening place and then something really terrible happens.
And she thinks of her motivations too. Like, I'm thinking of my dad and all of this. And they do that a few times in it. They kind of abandon it a little bit, but they do it a few times. And maybe that was purposeful in that. And maybe I had to look at it again and looking for that specifically. But once they got past like this kind of flashback and looking at dad getting there, looking at dad's funeral and kind of those are the only two memories.
Right.
And kind of moving from that to maybe she's coming to her own and she's actually matured into being an agent because she's a fucking cadet.
Right.
Also, she's 29, but she's a cadet. At least, well, the actress is 29. The character could be whatever.
Right, exactly. So yeah, there's a lot of emotional buildup that they release in that moment, which
build up and release.
I stumbled into that one, didn't I?
Shout out to Miggs's aim, and also shout out to also it gets over Hannibal in the whole thing of like I fucking don't like that because he already established I don't like rudeness. Oh,
it's great. I mean the way that they develop that, and then it's something that persists throughout the entire, you know, different Hannibal iterations and series of just like I hate rudeness, and also you know you kind of get that like protective of Clarice thing, like you fuck with the wrong person.
Yeah, this is my person.
Yeah, I'm
fucking with this person. that is me. Like, hold on. Hey, you, Greg. I can't fuck with Greg. I fucks with Greg.
Greg's gonna listen to this and be like, "Wait, what?"
He's like, "How am I a topic?" It's the most mentions Greg has gotten. So Buffalo Bill James Gum, does he work? Does he not? Defend your position.
I think that this is one of those movies that it's difficult to go back to because so much has happened since then. You've seen a lot more true crime, serial killers, just really in the weeds of murder and abducting people that you forget sort of like where the origins are. So when you go back and actually look at the origins, it almost seems like a cliche, but it's really because it inspired so many more things after that. Does he work as a character? I would say yes, and he definitely helps establish this pantheon of what is this person really like. You know, when you see him as a person, he's not particularly imposing.
Right.
He's not the tallest or the scariest person that you've ever seen. But the actor does do a good job of portraying that thing. And I always talk about how the first time that I ever saw it was Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. I think it's very hard to bring that quality across on screen of someone who makes other people uncomfortable. You can't really put your finger on it, but you're just like, I just don't feel comfortable around you. So I definitely think he works as a character. He makes the whole sensational aspect of hunting humans seem real and not like, you know, supernatural forces. You know, I mean, that's kind of more Hannibal's bag of like how he completed some sort of like effigy installation in about 12 minutes.
Hold on. You know what? When we learn stuff, right? Midsummer. It's a Midsummer reference, right? Or Midsummer made reference to it. And it also kind of makes reference to him being European, which they don't talk about in it.
True.
That was a blood angel, right?
I think so.
Where they take your lungs out and they kind of string you up. That's what happens in fucking Midsummer.
And he disembowels him, right?
Because that's what you do. And that was the guy that I thought was decent.
I know. You kind of feel it, don't you?
Yeah.
I have to say, in terms of like just what is a movie where I didn't mind the cops that much, I kind of like, it doesn't, you know, make them look like, oh, they're the greatest heroes in the world necessarily. But I do like how scared they are. Like if you actually look at the scenes when they're in that whatever that building is, where they're holding Lecter in that crazy cage in the middle of the room.
I believe it was MeQ. No.
Wow.
It was a MeQ headquarters.
It's a bank, right? With that old timey elevator. Like they're actually really scared. They're not sure what to do. They're sweating.
It's like, I need a bus and I need vests and guns.
And like I just really like that. They're not just like, you know, friggin' action heroes like, you know, Charles Bronsoning their way through everything. Like, you know, they're actually terrified, and they should be.
I was going to say Baltimore Asylums, but I think that's fine. I'm going to switch it. I'm going to switch it on the fly.
Okay.
Ancillary black characters. Do they work? Do they not work? And I can name a couple. You got 2 black cops. You have Cordelia and you have Barney. Barney is at the top of this pinnacle, I think.
Barney is great.
He's in the movie twice.
He's decent. He's like...
You can hang your coat up if you need to.
Yeah.
You're going to do great. Here's your pep talk.
Yeah.
We don't go in there, though.
I'll be out here, because...
Yeah, I'll be watching right here. Popcorn is still buttered and shit.
Wait, it's the only time that someone could say something as creepy as I'll be watching, but like, you actually are like, good. Like, I hope somebody's watching.
Yeah, you know, watch out for Migs, though.
Yeah, the ancillary black character is not great, especially when you're in Baltimore. It just feels like it's a little...
It's the 90s.
It's a bit white. It's a bit white.
So that means, now, if she's in Virginia, that means she's driving up there. So he's in Baltimore, but she is not. Clarice.
I don't know where she lives.
I mean, I would imagine like living near, like probably in Virginia, like in X-Files, everyone lived like near the Pentagon or what have you.
Okay, that's fair.
So I would imagine like if she's there at the Pentagon or fucking wherever they train FBI agents, I would imagine it's probably like Virginia or maybe DC. Throw in another 2, like make the weird mustache chief or the captain of these police guys. Make him a black dude.
The owner of that storage space absolutely would have been a black person.
The old guy was great, though.
He was great. Because he was, I mean, again, I'm not going in there. And then he was like, she's like, what about him, the driver? He's like, oh, he detests manual labor.
That shit is so funny.
She literally says, great. And then goes and gets like the jack.
Could have just got like my dad and just said, look, we need you to do this. Put your patty cap on. You're now being... He
wasn't doing shit. He's like, I'm not going under there. Nobody's opened this thing in 10 years.
So, essentially, no, this is a question. Was Clarice's role one of the worst internships you could possibly have?
It's the worst and the best. The worst part about it is that it seems unpaid. And she risked her life several times.
She got cum in her hair.
Right? Which did not have its moment until Something About Mary, really. But
Jesus.
I mean, it's both the best and the worst. You could tell by the way, again, everyone leering at her, that there aren't a lot of women in behavioral sciences. So that was, you know, and Hannibal read her immediately because he was like, oh, I'm going to give you what you want most. And she's like, what's that? He's like, advancement, obviously, because he's putting the pieces together. If your country ass West Virginia ass came in here with your good bag and your cheap shoes, then you must really want to move up on the totem pole somehow.
I mean, the thing that he said earlier was like, "Oh, you were doing so well, and you took politeness, you gave politeness, and you kind of just went with that, just these questions."
Yeah,
I was like, "Fuck!"
When he was just like,
familiar.
"It won't do." Yeah, it won't do.
Let's see. Has night vision ever been scarier?
No,
I threw this in there specifically for you.
It is absolute. It was so terrifying. Also, I had forgotten that he used the glasses earlier when he abducts Catherine.
Yeah.
And I was like, you fucker. That scene, it's so painful to me because it's like, even watching it again and knowing that Catherine lives, it's like she sees her cat and then the cat is there waiting for her.
Yeah.
And she has the groceries that people still always carry, paper grocery bags, even though no one actually uses that. And like, you know, she's trying to help this dude. And the whole time, of course, you're just like, because again, I saw the movie theater twice. So, you know, people are like, no, bitch, don't get in there. Don't help him. But it's like, but a lot of people would, though.
Yeah.
You think about the area of town that she lives in.
Could he win, Tennessee or something? Or
It's not particularly dangerous.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. You know, and he looks, again, what does a serial killer look like? He's already presenting himself Ted Bundy style of, you know, being physically weak, you know, so.
What did serial killers drive? Vans.
Yeah, and it also really hurts me when he punches her because the level of violence is just shocking that he gets to like in 5 seconds.
I was like, fuck.
Yeah, it's just, it's so hurtful to watch him do that.
And I was like, because I remember when I first watched it, I was like, my man's just going straight to the fat bag. I was like, fucking hell.
Oh, God. Oh, when he cuts open. Yeah, and you don't really know what he's doing at first. And yeah, God.
Because were we at the point when they found the body? Because we were kind of still a little sparse on details. I was like, in the van? Y'all about to do what?
No, you don't. You're not sure. You think something terrible is going to happen when those scissors come out. So I think, yeah, I don't remember the order correctly. If we've already seen them do the autopsy on Frederica Bimmel yet.
Yeah. But
it's still, you definitely think something really bad is going to happen in the van.
So I have one more question, and then I got some scenes and question. And again, I think you touched on this. Has there been a bigger contribution to the serial killer / FBI genre? Because I think that those are a genre together than this movie.
No, I don't think so. I think this movie starts everything. Like what we, you know, now when you watch a true crime show or whether it's actually based on a true story or not, like there are just things that people know. And that I think that's one of the things that was so enjoyable about watching Mindhunter is to remember that there was a time when that didn't exist. Sure. There was no profiling. There was no like, let's consider the person's childhood because they actually talk about Buffalo Bill's childhood briefly. Hannibal Lecter mentions it. And so this, I feel like, starts all of that. It was really an introduction to a world that people didn't really know about, I don't think.
I agree. So let's see.
Can I just ask a question about, so do you feel like something is missing
in terms of
when the FBI agents, the SWAT team, end up at the wrong house and Jack is like, Clarice.
That's a hole. How does he know?
Is that? How does he know? How does he know what she's doing?
Kind of how does she know? The ending is not as neat as I would like it.
She stumbles. She gets the address of the woman that I assume is the corpse in the bathtub from
this chick. I remember that.
Friend,
yeah,
as being like she sewed.
Yeah,
but then the son. And I think I was actually wrong. Again, the things that you find out when you watch a film again. I always assumed that he was her son. But like, he's just, I think in the book or something, he's just like, he does murder her, whoever this woman is in the bathtub, we assume, and takes over her house. But which is also weird. Like, she doesn't have any relatives. I don't understand.
Yeah, some of that stuff doesn't.
Nobody came by to
work as well.
See what was up with this woman that disappeared.
That's true. Because the FBI getting there and they do that whole fake me out, they're at the wrong house, and other ancillary black guy, hey man, ain't the right place. I think that's
They
paraphrasing.
come to the door with the fake flowers, but it's a gun. I was just like,
And he kind of left her out. So another reason to say, fuck you, Crawford.
Yeah, right. Because he did do that. He did the thing where he was like, I couldn't have caught him without you. But now let the big boys, let the adults carry this on. Make sure we step in at the right moment and seal the deal. Meanwhile, she's there with the actual murderer.
Yeah, because I mean, one would think like, well, you're already en route there, but you could have just waited and said like, yo, get your ass here as soon as possible. Starling, we gotta fucking get this guy. Where are you at? ETA, get over here. Now, granted, she said she was 400 miles away. But you could have waited because you had the element of surprise. So you're just white guying it up.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know what again, because she's not, just like how, again, Lecter trolling was just like, yeah, you're not real FBI. You're a cadet.
That expires at the end of the week.
Exactly. He was just like, are you graduating? So she wasn't even
Final
a real
exam.
agent. So I don't know what the protocol is for, I just want to do some digging.
That's a capstone class. And
FBI capstone.
When she's talking to the other officers now, yeah, we're going to take this over now. Y'all get now. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Which is what Crawford should have done.
But it was really funny, though.
I do like the way that she says it. We're going to take care of her. You go on now. Go on.
And they kind of half ignored it, which was so funny to me.
Yeah, she turned into coal miner's daughter right there.
I was like, all right, West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. Go on now. Get.
Now, even before I even get into, because I have like 4 scenes that I think are great scenes.
All
that,
right.
That are favorite scenes. But real quick, who would you recast in this movie? If you, or you could say nobody, but who would you recast?
That's a good question. Who would I recast? Well, I would say that I actually prefer the Hannibal series Dr. Chilton.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
There's something about him that is like, he kind of reminds me of Saul from Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Like there's something about him that's like kind of funny, but also like if he died, like who's gonna miss him?
That's fair.
So
Yeah.
I prefer his Chilton.
That's a good Chilton. I don't have anybody I would recast, but that would be the closest person that I would recast. I'd put probably a different Chilton in there. Because even the scene with the which is one of my scenes actually, the scene with the senator, I was like, why are you here? Get the fuck out of here. But he does play being a piece of shit really well.
He does. And, let's not de-emphasize the fact that, yes, of course I was kind of kidding about Hannibal not being a villain. Not really. But, he's torturing them. Mm-hmm. Like he's torturing the patients / inmates with his, religious programs and all of his other crappy things that he does.
It's probably cold down there, too.
It is. It looks freezing.
Okay, so I have 4 scenes.
Okay, I'm ready.
They're not in any particular order.
Okay.
So I have the rubs the lotion on his skin, that whole thing.
It rubs the lotion on its skin. It does this whenever it's told.
Mister, my family will pay cash. Whatever ransom you're asking for, they'll pay it.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
So my college boyfriend, Maddie,
Oh, God.
used to do a really good imitation of this whole scene. But then there's a part of me that was just like, do you like that scene too much? I don't know.
That's fair. And that scene leads into... Yeah, because you see his process, you get all of it over.
Oh, did you notice how he actually starts to feel a little guilty when she's crying?
Yeah.
She's like crying and she's like, I want to see my mommy. He kind of looks away. Didn't see that the first time. That's why he yells at her, because he's starting to actually feel some emotion.
Yeah, and that's the thing that was touched on with the senator making that plea.
Right.
It was like, humanize her.
Right. Yeah. Never noticed that.
Let's see, another scene that's in here. Obviously, love your suit.
That's all I can remember, Mom. But if I think of any more, I will let you know. Oh, and Senator, just one more thing. Love your suit.
Love your suit.
Because it's just like, he's like, something about, what did he say? When some amputees, they still feel certain things or what have you once it's removed. What part of you will tingle when your daughter's dead?
It was just...
Piece of shit.
Man.
And this is the image, just his smug cocksucker.
His hair is really wild.
I've won again, I see.
I mean, he did a lot of teasing of his hair for this event.
When he was like, yeah, I've made some arrangements for myself to be beneficial.
Well, too bad you didn't make arrangements for your fucking pen.
No. Because we don't see what happens to him at the end.
Dr. Chilton?
Yeah.
No. We are to assume that he became a very luxurious dinner.
We had a lot of, like, where was he at? Jamaica?
I couldn't tell. It was definitely someplace tropical where he was going on vacation.
There's a lot of black people.
There were.
More black people than Baltimore.
Correct.
So, I don't know. His wig did not go well.
That was hilarious. You mean what Hannibal Lecter was wearing?
I was like, the fuck is that on your head? I thought that was in a later movie because I was like, I remember this wig being bad.
It's pretty funny. It actually kind of reminds me of like the disguise from Seven.
Yes.
Yeah.
The next one I have is Lecter escaping from the aforementioned.
My God.
That whole thing, that whole sequence is fire.
Son of a bitch demanded a second dinner. Lamb chops, extra rare.
What he wants for breakfast. Damn thing, zoo.
It's great.
And because you don't really, you hear about when he murdered Miggs or what have you, and you got the intimation that, oh yeah, you ate these people, but oh, this is what he does. This is how
we know that we are terrible as human beings, and most people who saw this movie, because there's something satisfying about it. It's kind of like when Hugh Jackman talks about the first time he really gets to be Wolverine. Yeah. Which I think is that scene in the kitchen. Yeah. And he's just like, he's like, finally I get to be like, the claws. And it's like, it's that kind of thing of like actually watching him do something violent. It's kind of disturbing that you kind of look forward to it.
All right. Now, this is my last favorite scene.
Okay.
This is a long scene, though.
Okay. What scene is that?
It's the first scene when they meet, Clarice and Hannibal meeting.
I bit my wrist so I could die. Look at the blood! Gotcha!
Mate! You stupid fuck!
Agent Starling! Come back! Agent Starling! Agent Starling!
How would not have had that happen to you? Discourtesy is unspeakably ugly to me.
Then do this test for me.
No, but I will make you happy. I'll give you a chance for what you love most.
And what is that, Doc?
Advancement, of course. Listen carefully. Look deep within yourself, Clarice Starling. Go seek out Miss Moffat, an old patient of mine. M-O-F-E-T. Go now. I don't think Miggs could manage again quite so soon, even though he is crazy. Go now!
Okay.
Because you get the iconic line in it, you get Miggs in it, you get Frankie Vizon doing all of his shit,
back on his bullshit.
Yeah, and you kind of you get dipped, and obviously you get a scene with them together. You could easily throw in there the Goodbye Horses scene, which might be in there, but that also might be the outro song too.
Yes.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. And they're big chunks. So like the first meeting with Clarice and Hannibal is like 8 minutes.
It's a long scene, and they have a lot that they have to accomplish in that one scene.
And I think they do it in the most effective way possible.
Yes.
It's like you get him over, you get him kind of passively rejecting her, and then you get, shots to the face, and then you get him saying like, well, fuck that, come back here. And he's just kind of like, he yells at her.
He does. Yeah. When he's like shot, and I don't know how, I mean, it's like really interesting delivery that he does at that part that he establishes for that character when he's like, shouting directions that she like has to remember all these things and put together. Yeah. It's a really interesting delivery that he does.
So that's all I had. Did you have any scenes that come to mind for you, or did I get them all?
I mean, those are the set pieces. I mean, it's, not to try to diminish the movie in any way, but it really is a film of set pieces that are put together almost like you would an action movie. And then you kind of have these smaller, quieter scenes woven in between, but it does such a great job of like what you want is to see more of him and Clarice together.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, what is that? You know, what is so fascinating about that you feel like you can't wait until they're back in the same room? And they do such an effective job of establishing the way that Hannibal thinks, even though you actually see very little of him speaking, is that by the end of the film, when she says, he's not going to come looking for me, he would consider that rude.
Also,
you believe her.
Post-shower.
Yeah.
Drying off hair. Cardelia's there.
Yeah. You're like, what happened here?
Scene number 3.
I feel like you notice a lot more of this than I did.
Yeah, it's odd. It's odd that how it pops up. It's like, girl, he ain't coming after me. He don't care. So what we doing? We going to dinner? That was kind of the energy.
No, I mean, she has definitely a new level. I mean, her confidence grows.
Yeah.
You know
who I am. I'm researching shit.
I'm running this department. It's like,
I'm
you
CS.
just graduated yesterday.
Yeah, I'm CS, baby.
Wow. So I love those scenes.
Clarice Lynn.
The scenes that you picked are the best scenes in the film. I would just say that my favorite...
Quid pro quo is good, too.
Quid pro quo is good, because that's how people actually relate to each other.
So
now you tell. Because when someone isn't... when you're always sharing something with a person and they're not sharing anything personal with you, you don't trust them.
I think we both were friends with somebody like that.
Well, mayhaps. But I would have to say, like, my favorite thing about the movie, really, it's not so much any one scene. It's sort of like when he says to her, brave Clarice, it's like, you know, she really is very brave, and not in a way that's like... seems like a superhero or supernatural. Like, she's really scared at including when she shoots him at the end. Like, she's terrified. She does a bunch of physical things that don't make sense. Like, she empties the gun and like does all these other things. But like, there's something about it at the end.
It's like she was at the shooting range, actually.
Yeah. Right. You don't feel, that's a good observation. You don't feel like depressed or like scared at the end of the movie. At least I didn't. It's kind of weird. Like, I actually felt like, you know, I feel better thinking that like Clarice is out there in the world somewhere, like, you know, protecting me from whoever and facing down, you know, night vision goggles and, you know, doing her research and, you know, questioning people. Like, there's something about that I don't know. It's like oddly comforting.
But we're not watching the series though.
Well, it's what Hannibal Lecter says when he's like, the world is more interesting with you in it.
That's very
like,
true. Yeah.
That's kind of how you feel. You're just like, I hope that, you know, whoever Clarice is right now, I hope that she is out there, you know, facing things that I can't face and that I don't even want to know about are out there.
Let me piggyback on that last line though.
We are watching Clarice, by the way.
No.
Yes.
Extend that same courtesy to me.
No, she can't do that.
No, that means bring back goddamn Hannibal.
Well,
see?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Netflix.
Well, that's the Batman and Joker of it, where he's just like, you know, it'd be great if you would extend me the same courtesy or whatever he says. And she's like, you know, I can't promise that.
Well.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm still me, though. And I wouldn't be me if I just let you go off doing what you're doing without trying to catch you.
Have those lambs stopped crying yet? Like, fuck. That's a bitchery thing to say.
Brave Clarice, you let me know when those lambs stop screaming, won't you?
Fucking hell. So that's pretty much all I had. Did you have any final thoughts or anything you wanted to get over before we wrap up this delicious podcast?
One more thing.
Spin it.
What is your verdict on the FBI graduation cake?
I don't even remember the cake.
So when they have their little graduation ceremony, when Crawford is doing that weird dad thing where he's like, I don't really like this kind of stuff, but your dad would have been proud.
Oh, yeah, that's shit.
So there is a cake that they cut, which I guess at that time was like the FBI seal.
Uh-huh.
So it's the top of it looks like black lacquer, and then it has like a big whatever the eagle is in the middle or whatever, and then they cut into it. So what's your verdict on that cake? Do you think it tastes good, or is it
probably dry?
Okay, dry.
I'm going to say dry, stiff. Buttercream.
Yeah,
probably buttercream, and I feel like stenciling was used.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like when they had the little spray, and it's like edible spray. It's like, this is art more than food.
I agree. Beautiful to look at. I don't think it tasted good. And the size of the first piece they cut is like insane.
Here you go. It's like it's a wedding cake. It's like, what the fuck is this?
What is this? I'm marrying the FBI?
Did Cordelia make this?
Look. I love that you actually remember her name.
Because I wrote that shit down. I was like, hold on, what is her black name?
Cordelia.
Because I was like, what is her black name? She's going to have some ridiculous black name.
Oh boy.
I was like, did Bessie do this?
I'm gonna have to do this more rabbit hole research. How did I miss the other, LGBTQ element of like their secret relationship in the movie that I'm like, oh my God. On that note,
it's the FBI.
No.
Yeah.
The remix.
So that's what we got. Cats and kittens, boys and girls, killers and FBI agents. For Koo, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. Always a good time.
This was Let's Watch It Again. I'm Rob Lee. And check us out next time for another episode of a movie review.
Yeah, I don't think I'm on it.
Bye.
Girl face out.